Hello and welcome to Tipperary GAA TV's coverage of the Championship. Over the course of the show, we will look ahead at Tipperary's senior footballers as they make the trip to Killarney to take on All-Ireland champions Kerry, and the Tipperary senior hurlers who travel to Cusack Park in Ennis for their clash with Clare. I'll be joined by a host of guests to look at both games, to give their thoughts on both games and their predictions for the outcome. So stay tuned. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the next hour or so. And joining me now to preview the Tipperary senior footballers as they make the trip to Killarney is former Tipperary senior football goalkeeper Philly Ryan and PRO of the Friends of Tipperary Football, Anthony Shelley. Guys, you're very welcome to Tipperary GAA TV's preview.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So let's get into it, guys. It's been a long time since Tipperary overcame Kerry in a championship match. 44 attempts, I think, at this stage. How are we looking for Sunday, Anthony?
Sure, I suppose you have to go down there and hope, isn't it? You've no hope, you have nothing. But realistically, Kerry are strong favourites, All-Ireland final, are All-Ireland champions. So, realistically, what we'd be looking for is a good performance that would set us up right for the Tailteann Cup. And,
of course, Philly, you have loads of experience of playing against Kerry. And lots of, they have lots and lots of household names in their team at the moment, And Tipperary, I think it's fair to say that Tipperary are going down here to use this game in preparation, maybe, for games that will come later on in the championship. But they should relish it as well, shouldn't they?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't often get the chance to go down to Killarney and play the All-Ireland champions. Looking at it, you say a lot of experience. I've had a lot of bad experience as well, So you could often run Kerry to the first 60 minutes, stay with them, and they always find a way to put you away in the last 10 minutes of a game. As Anthony says there, though, I think the lads should go down and look for a performance. We're probably not going to win this game. Go down, perform, open up, and have no fear. That's the best way of attacking this game.
And as you said, they have nothing to lose, really. They're going down. Nobody expects them to come away with a victory. So that in itself really takes the pressure off them. Their league, I suppose, wasn't what they would have hoped for. So, this is a game where they can maybe, put in a performance ahead of, as I said, games that are going to come down along this later on.
Yeah, you're right. I suppose the league was disappointing from a results point of view. Now, we did play some good football during that league, but we were murdered with making unforced errors, particularly in the middle third. So, against a team that are fairly aggressive in the tackle against Kerry, that's a chance for us to kind of improve in that area, getting in and out of the middle third as quickly as we can. Probably just looking at the team that was named for today, that Stephen O'Brien and Stephen Quirk up front. So maybe we might be trying to get it in a little bit quicker than what we were doing during the league.
So if we just take a look at the team, lads, that was named by manager David Power. In goal, Michael O'Reilly. The full back line then of Shane O'Connell, Jimmy Feehan and Willie Aveston. In the half back line then, Kevin Fahey, Coleman Kennedy and Colin O'Shaughnessy. Centre field, Mark Russell, who will be joined by Jack Kennedy. And in the forward line, Emmett Maloney, Teddy Dial and Keith Ryan. Then Stephen O'Brien, who captains the side, is corner forward, Stephen Quirk and Cathal Deely. So maybe we'll just have a little chat about that. Philly, for me, the standout absentee from the team there is your own clubman, Sean O'Connor. Is that a surprise to yourself?
I suppose it's a bit of a surprise, really, when you look at a challenge that Sean started maybe 6 to 7 league games. He was part of the UCC squad that won the Sigerson Cup. I suppose it's a bit of a surprise. But look, I imagine that the lads have something up their sleeve. I can't see the way the team is named that we'll be playing 2 out-and-out wing forwards. So I suppose you're looking at maybe Stephen O'Brien, Stephen Quirk, the 2 Stephens inside, with that ball to come in a bit quicker. Stephen O'Brien did fierce damage against Waterford. He was a huge addition to that team. So it looks like a team that's going to set up in a defensive position area and try and limit Kerry to as best as possible. But another man who's missing out there seems to be Mikey O'Shea. So he played a lot of league games. Now he brings a lot to the party. Maybe the impact is seen more off the bench as well, and maybe Sean's impact is seen coming off the bench. Maybe the lads are hoping to contain the game and go at it then the last 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, and Anthony, you said it as well, and Philly has alluded to it as well. That the team is probably named with a view to the way they're going to take to the field. Really, you know what I mean? They're going to line up.
Yeah, like I suppose it's horse for courses. Like we were playing in Talton Cup, you would expect the likes of Sean O'Connor and maybe Mike O'Shea to be in, but like I mean, it would be no secret to anyone that Evan Maloney at wing forward and Keith Ryan in the other wing, they won't be playing as wing forwards, so they'll be brought back. You're probably only going to be leaving the likes of Teddy and the two Stevens up front, and everybody else will be behind the ball, trying to get it up to them as quickly as possible. Yeah,
so more defensive and attack from defence, shall we say?
Yeah, we probably defend in a unit of 12 and hopefully attack in a unit of 12. And if we do end up with a one-on-one inside, I mean, the two lads inside, if they fell over, they'd be halfway home. Like, you know, they're both 6'5", 6'6". So I'd say if the opportunity is on, that we would be trying to launch it in on top of one of the two Stevens.
And you know, Philly, playing against a team like Kerry, okay, so you can set up the way you guys feel that may be the case, that the way they're going to set up defensively. Like, is it always the best option?
Not necessarily always the best option, but I suppose needs must. And you have to remember, we are playing Kerry, who are probably number one team at the moment. So I suppose the lads are probably thinking damage limitation here. That's the way they're looking at it. One thing that will intrigue me is the battle between Coleman Kendi and Sean O'Shea. I'll be interested to see how that goes, and I'll be interested to see who's going to run around after Paddy Clifford and David Clifford as well. You know, this isn't going to be an easy game. You know, you have household names in that Kerry team. So I suppose the omissions from the team, maybe they're to bring that impact. Maybe the lads see something different in training. Mark Russell in there in the middle of the field. Looking at Mark in the league games, I don't think he has a full hour in him. So I imagine he's going. It's the reverse with Mark. He's gone for the off now on this occasion. But look, you have to try something. Anthony says if you're setting up for the Talton Cup, I think we'd be setting up different. But unfortunately, we're not setting up for the Talton Cup. The prize for beating Waterford was a trip to Killarney to play Kerry, so that's what you have to face now.
Yeah.
If we had a better league, maybe you could be a bit more aggressive in the way you went after them. Like, but you know, after only getting one draw out of 7 games in the league, like, you have to be a bit more realistic. And if you went man for man from Kerry, they could really open you up. So you would be trying to. No, we will be trying to score from a limited amount of ball. That would be the hope. But with confidence low after the league, I think the sensible thing to do would be to set up fairly defensively.
Yeah, like obviously Kerry do have a huge scoring threat, you know. But and I just looked a little bit at their results from in the league. You know, in their 7 matches that they played in the league rounds of the National Football League this year, they scored 882.
Yeah, that was that workout. About 112, 113 a game is what they're scoring. Even though I think they did put up a big score in Monaghan, all right. But they would have been missing the 2 Cliffords for the first 3 or 4 games as well, which would be a loss to them. You know, they might be as potent as they were last year, where they went at it. If you remember last year, they went at it from the very start. Like, I mean, they played us up in Templetooey in the McGrath Cup, and they brought lads up after playing a Sigerson Cup game that day. So they were trying to win everything that they played in last year. Where this year they might be saying, right, we'll time it a little bit different. You know, you can't stay going at that pace for 2 years. So they may have been in a block of training during the league, which might have affected their performances. I wouldn't say that they prioritised the league this year like they did last year. I think this game is on GAA Go, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, my hope for it is that we'd be pulling and dragging, and the game would be so bad that there'd be nobody actually watching it at the end of the game, you know, because that's what we need to do. We need to make this a horrible game to watch. You know, pull, drag, delay, do everything you can. It gives every trick in the book to delay it.
Is that a kind of a Brackens thing now, Anthony.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Sure, we learned it from yourselves, like, you know. And no, but that would be that's the way I would approach it. Like, you know, that there's no point going out playing lovely football against these lads. You know, and Kerry are a cynical enough team themselves. Like, I mean, I always quote a stat that I heard in the championship a few years ago that like Gooch Cooper, he was the most foul player in the championship, but he was also the player that committed the most fouls in the same championship. So, you know, they'll stop you. They might only pull a jersey or whatever. So that's what we need to be doing then. They'll try to disrupt our flow, so we have to try to disrupt their flow.
Would you concur with Anthony's thoughts on that one there, Philly?
I wouldn't really know, but just before the two of you start, I think I'm going to be the referee here tonight between the two of you. So, I don't know. No, I wouldn't like to see a game like that. No, I wouldn't. I'd like to see us have a front foot game. I'd like to see us go at it. I do understand the mentality of trying to drag the game down, slow it down, and the whole lot. But I wouldn't like to see us do that. I would like to see us. We're going into the lines then. We have nothing to lose. The bookies ranked this game as 1 to 500. That gives us a chance, a slight chance, albeit. But look, I would see this as a freebie. I would see this as a chance to go down, have a go. So be it. You're expected to lose by 19 points. That's the way they mark it up. So is anything less success? You know, that's what we have to ask on in this game.
Yeah, and look at we can be a bit jovial about the game and all that kind of stuff, but to be fair then to the players, they have put in a huge effort. You know, I mean, while the results haven't gone their way in the league, and that's you know, that's there to be seen. Like, it's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of commitment. It's not for, you know, lack of the time that they're given to football, to Tipperary football, to training. Like, you know, so, you know, they do deserve to get results at some stage. You know, it may not be this weekend, but, you know, later on as we go into the Tailteann Cup, there's no reason why Tipperary can't progress to and be successful in the Tailteann Cup.
They're probably the most honest bunch of Tipperary footballers I've ever come across. I mean, all the training and the effort that they put in the training sessions is just unreal. Probably as we transition, like, we lost a lot of players. Like, we started off this league and we were all kind of excited about maybe having Stephen O'Brien, Conor Sweeney and Sean O'Connor in the full forward line, and that we'd be able to get quick ball into them, you know. I think by the second game we had Lee McGrath, Conor Cadell and Mikey O'Shea in the full forward line. So we went from probably having the tallest full forward line in Ireland to possibly the smallest full forward line in Ireland. And then you were trying to change your game plan mid-league, and that's never easy to do. But and that's probably where you would have heard David Power talking a lot about the unforced errors that we made, and that's probably it, because you look up and, you know, whereas before you might have been able to let in the ball fast, now you have to take the extra 2 or 3 touches and then you get cut out. So yeah, for the effort they put in, and I always believe honesty is probably, if you had lads that are an honest team, and these lads are, they'll be rewarded somewhere along the line. As you said, it might be this Saturday, but it will be in the Tailteann Cup.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Like, I mean, you have fellas travelling from Dublin, Cork, Limerick. You know, they're an honest bunch of players. They're putting in every effort there on a Wednesday, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday morning. You know, they're doing their gym work. They're not leaving any stone unturned. It just didn't happen for them. As Anthony said there, like, I mean, you go down, you play Waterford in the McGrath Cup. You're looking inside, you see Sean O'Connor, Stephen O'Brien, Conor Sweeney. 2 games later, you're down 2 of them, and your whole you really think you have 3 triple towers, you know, that you can hit at, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a different game plan again, which did affect us. Like, I mean, we came into the game here, the first game against Down, thought we played quite well here, and then you lose Conor Sweeney the same night. Very unfortunate. You lose Stephen O'Brien again, out for most of the league. Conal Kennedy gone for most of the league. Gone for all the league, actually. I believe he's on his way back now. I don't know, is he in the squad? But hopefully he is, and hopefully there's a little bit of game time in him. But yeah, look, the lads probably deserve a little rub of the green, and maybe today will be the day that they can turn it over. Yeah,
and of course we spoke earlier on then of, you know, many trips from Tipperary down to Kerry to play on either Killarney or Intralee or wherever the case may be. And maybe can we just take a little reminiscing, if you like, Philly, back to Sunday, May the 23rd in 1999 in Tralee. The infamous goal that never was.
Where do we start with that now?
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, the point that I'm trying to really come to is that, like, you know, that day it was a kind of something similar to this weekend's game, in that you were going down to play a big name and all that kind of thing, and the goal that never was happened really early in the game. Like, was it a distraction? I know it was a distraction, but did the players like maybe get too distracted by it and take their focus off of the bigger picture?
Yeah, I suppose it did happen, John. Like, I mean, I suppose for maybe 5-10 minutes after that incident happened, you know, I mean, you're probably, if you're 10 minutes into the game, you're holding Kerry, you're doing okay. Next thing, the chap comes in, ball whips in and hits the side net, and the green flag is waved, you know, and it's hard to take, especially when you're the underdog. That's a big one against you. Yeah, it does. For 5 to 10 minutes after that, maybe it shook us up a bit. But I thought we regrouped well even after that, and then you go in with you try and calm it down at half time. I'll say that now. It probably didn't happen at the time. But yeah, look, Colin Brown was the manager at the time, very sensible man, very clever man, and he calmed the situation. We came out in the second half. There was 2 penalties given. You know, you'd wonder were the penalties given to push the game out and try and push it away from there. But even at that, once we regrouped, we were still in the game with 12, 13 minutes to go, and just once again Kerry found a way of putting us away. But yeah, it did have a little effect, and those little things don't go for the small teams. They always tend to go for the bigger team.
Yeah, look at that's as they say, that's in the past now. We won't dwell on it for too long. It's just, I suppose, mention it in passing and mention the fact that, Philly, you have been an outstanding servant to Tipperary football over many years, and you continue to be with your own club, and I'm sure you're going to keep doing that for many years, and it just shows the passion that you have for football, really, you know, and I'm sure that passion is still there, big and strong.
It is, yeah. I mean, love the game. Like, I mean, I would always say to everybody, I'm a Tipperary GA man, you know, I'm a Clonmel man, and that's the way it is. I don't favour hurling over football. If there's a hurling match on, I'll be at it. If there's a football match on, I'll try to be at it. You know, if Clonmel are playing a match, Clonmel Commercials are playing a match, I'll be there, and if I can do anything, I'll certainly be there. I love the game with a passion, yeah. Really enjoy it.
Well, lads, it's been great to have both of you here joining me on Tipp GAA TV. Hopefully we'll have many more conversations before the summer is over. We look forward to in anticipation to the trip to Killarney. And please God, Tipperary will do themselves justice in Killarney, and we look ahead then to a number of other games in the football for our senior footballers as the summer progresses. So once again, Anthony and Philly, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So now we turn our attention to the Munster Senior Hurling Championship as Liam Cahill's Premier boys make the trip to Ennis to take on the banner.
Coming off the back of, I suppose, a disappointing year last year, we got a good bit out of the league, I suppose. Obviously, the Limerick match was disappointing. You had an opportunity to get to a national final, and as a player, like, you often hear people saying, oh, teams mightn't want to get to the final or mightn't want to go so far in the league. But as a player, you want to win every game you go out in, and you want to win as much silver as you can. Like, we haven't won a league in Tip in a long, long time. So it would have been nice to win. But I suppose the league as a whole was good to us. A lot of players got game time, maybe, I'd say, heading towards 30 players, maybe got game time in all the league matches for Tip and performed well on every given day that they went out. So yeah, it was good and it was enjoyable, and it has us set up now for heading into the Munster Championship.
Kind of had a mixed enough bag with the league. Some good games, maybe a lot of things to work on. We've a bank of hard training done now since the league finished up. So yeah, we're in good shape. Some good youngsters coming in as well. So yeah, I think we're in good shape. Had a lot to work on, so hopefully we've rectified those few things, and yeah, we're looking forward to the first round.
While I'm enjoying it, I'll stay coming back, and while that chance is there that you can succeed and win a Munster medal or win an All-Ireland medal, like, I think I'll stay coming as long as I'm able and as long as I'm asked to do it, like, and as long as I can contribute. So that's just the opportunity that's there every year, and unfortunately only one team can do it, like, but while there's hope there, you'll always give it your best shot.
normally I suppose I'm probably named maybe in the full or half forward line, but in general my position would be out around the middle of the field. So I suppose it's probably work rate would be the number one thing for me. That's something I pride myself on. I like to get on the ball and chip in with a few points now and again. But I suppose I see my role as hard worker, get on ball, and use my pace to break the tackle and run forward.
Clare had a great year last year, I suppose, and probably would be disappointed not to come away with some silverware. They were within inches of winning the Munster final. Like they had I was at that match in Thurles. Like, it was an unbelievable occasion, unbelievable match. Like, and they contributed massively to that. And they're one of the top teams like out there. But all the teams in Munster, I suppose, every day you go out, everybody's trying to get that win that's needed to have you in a good position on the table. But for us, it's Clare and Ennis is the first match, and that's what's on our minds at the moment. And we're looking forward to it. Like, there's a good history there, and between both teams, and a good rivalry there. And I'm sure there'll be no different down in Ennis on the 23rd of April.
Hurling in general has kind of evolved, and there's a lot more short passing, we'll say, building through the lines, that kind of thing, as opposed to just hitting long ball into the full forward or whatnot. So I think hurling in general has a style of play, and I think Clare have kind of adapted to that. But we play through the lines, play short ball, but we also mix it up too. I think we kind of play free enough. Like, we're not set to one structure. We can kind of adapt and change throughout games and go along if maybe it's working, or go short if that's not working.
The round robin series gives players a great chance to go to different grounds that they mightn't have went to in Championship before, and us going to Ennis now is the second time in the Munster Championship. We'll be going down there over the last 4 or 5 years, so it's a great occasion and something we'll be looking forward to.
It's a huge game for us, there's no doubt about it. Your home games are fairly essential. You've four games in the round robin, and 2 at home, 2 away, and you kind of need every advantage you can get. And Tipp seems to be in very good shape. Had a really good league campaign, so yeah, it's a big game for us. There's no doubt about it. We've targeted our home games in a way, so yeah, no, it's a big game for us, definitely. Yeah,
there's 5 teams there like that are ultra competitive, like, and every day you go out, you're going to be challenged in different ways. So yeah, every team will be looking to hit the ground running, I suppose, when it comes to it, and we're no different. And I suppose that's what makes it as good as it is. Like, that every game matters. Like, in every game there's something on the line every day you go out, and it challenges you in different ways. And the first match, I suppose, is the one that everyone has their eye on, no matter who you're playing. And for us, it's Clare, and for Clare, they'll be looking at us. So we can't wait to get going. And I suppose everyone wants the championship to start, and that's what I suppose it's all about at the end of the day.
Looking at them, they seem to be really sharp. Very, very physical. I suppose you'd probably expect that from Tipperary anyway, but they just look very sharp and hungry. So definitely it's going to be a massive challenge, and the form they're in. But we're training hard, so hopefully we can match that intensity.
And I'm delighted now to be joined to look ahead at Sunday's game by former Tipperary senior hurler and indeed manager Michael Ryan, and former Tipperary Star editor and now freelance journalist Noel Dundon. Guys, you're very welcome to Tipp GAA TV.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Lads, Tipp versus Clare, it holds a special place in everybody's heart, I think, and from a Tipperary point of view, making the trip to Ennis, it's never going to be easy, and you really are going into the Lions Den, aren't you, Michael?
Yeah, for sure, and it's that cauldron effect that they've got down there, Jonathan. Like, capacity, I believe, is only going to be 11,000 people, and I don't know what the allocation we might have got for tickets, but you'd expect that'll be 70-80% clear, or at least that, if it comes out like that, it just makes it all the more difficult for our team to go down there and play. But I was only talking to one of the neighbours of mine there at the 21 game or the 20 game during the week, and we were talking about the last time, the only time that we had been down there to see our Tip seniors play in this round robin, it was in 2019. And in fairness to us, that day we got every single matchup right, because I was very concerned, that was not a huge challenge for Tip, but we came out of it in flying colours. But look, I'm not going to suggest that that's going to be, we're going to have as easy a day, or as this match won't be worth playing. It'll be exactly worth playing, and it'll be a phenomenal game of hurling. But well, I think we're going in great spirits. I think that's the important piece.
Yeah, and Noel, you've obviously covered many matches in Ennis, and it's often been said home advantage and clear of home advantage. Does it really matter? Is home advantage a big plus, not just for Clare, but for any team in a championship game?
Yeah, it's funny, John. I would say it matters to Clare, particularly going down to Cusack Park. I'm not so sure that it matters to go down and play Cork in the new Páirc Uí Chaoimh as much as it did in the old Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And Cork probably wouldn't have any great difficulty in coming up to Semple Stadium either. Home advantage really doesn't make too much of a difference in that kind of a scenario. But definitely going down to Cusack Park, it's a big thing. We've all been there on difficult days, when the temperature is fairly high. And Mick might know more about this than I would now, but when you're out on the field, you can see the white of the eyes of the people in the crowd staring in at you, and it can be a very sort of intimidating place, but in a good way, because that really drives the atmosphere. And Mick talks about that day in 19 when we got everything absolutely right. And the thing that struck me about that day is that if you hit the front early on, the Clare people get very agitated with their own. So that's going to be the key for Tip, I think, to try and get in front early on and drive it on, and let's see how it goes then,
Yeah, and look at there was lots of waiting for the team. There was toing and froing. There was waiting for players. I think Liam Cahill had to wait for a number of players to see how they were ready for on Friday night at training. But the team has been announced, so I presume maybe we should just go through the Tipperary senior hurling team for that clash with Clare on Sunday. And the team is as follows: in goal, number 1, Barry Hogan from Killadangan. The full back line then of Cahill Barrett, Holy Cross Ballycahill, Ronan Maher, Thurles Sarsfields, and Johnny Ryan from Arravale Rovers. The half back line: Brian McGrath, Lockmore Castleiney. Centre back, Brian O'Mara from Holy Cross Ballycahill, and on the other wing, Michael Breen from Ballina. Centre field then you have captain Noel McGrath, Lockmore Castleiney, and he'll be partnered by Alan Tynan from Roscrea. And the half forward line, Dan McCormack, Boris Eiley. Centre forward, John McGrath, Lockmore Castleiney, and Seamus Kennedy, St Mary's. And then the Tipperary full forward line, Jake Morris, Nina Aerogue, Garrod O'Connor, Mine Temple-Toohey, and Jason Ford from the Silver Mines. So lads, your thoughts maybe on that team? Is it the team you would have expected, Michael? Are there surprises in the team? And how do you think the team is picked to line out there?
Yeah, it's interesting, Jonathan. A lot of it, I think any of us might have got 12 or 13 of these. But like any decent team, there's a couple of surprises in there, enough to keep us guessing, and it'll certainly cause a little bit of discussion around some of the players. But it's great to see. Look, I'd say start at the outset. Like we've been waiting for this championship to come around. I suppose from the time that Liam was appointed and got that backroom team together, and in fairness, trawled the whole county to find the best panel he could pull together to bring into training. We've been nothing but impressed. They've had a really good run in the league, and we're finally on the eve of the start of the round robin, and it's exactly where we want to be. And just looking down through the team sheet there, great mix of experience and fellas that we've seen lots of and have given great service to Tipperary. But great to see these new fellas, spotted around the page there, and deservedly getting their chance to shine. If we were just to look there, I suppose the big news of the day, or it's one of the most promising things, is that Cahill Barrett came through that game down in Carrick-on-Shore against Wexford, and he needed that game to get, no matter what you're doing in training or how your recovery is going, you've got to test yourself with contact, and he came through that in flying colours, and he's a huge bonus to have him back there because he just brings that experience, and we know the quality that Cahill brings. Ronan is picked at 3, and Johnny Ryan has been I suppose a really bright spark for us when the whole of the league, or any of the games that he's played for us, he's really attacked it, and I suppose took the bull by the horns and really got an opportunity and held on to it. Ronan, will Ronan play at 3? We don't know. But he's certainly capable of playing at 3. And I would imagine, if you look around those 6 players, there's probably 4 of those players potentially could be on what's the chap in the dog, Peter Duggins. He's a real threat, and he could end up in any of the 6 forward positions. So I think what we have inside in that back line is a lot of flexibility and a lot of fellas that can move around there very comfortably. Like Mikey Breen has played, almost all of his league campaign at 3. He's picked at 7. He would be fine at 7 if we have to play him at 7. That's absolutely fine. Brian McGrath, we haven't seen a lot of Brian. I suppose that might be the surprise of the half back line. But anyone who's been watching Brian down through the years, we know the quality that he brings. What we haven't seen is, unless you've been at training, and maybe you have known, we really don't know how these guys are playing in the last couple of weeks, and that is the key piece. How have they been playing in the last couple of weeks since we finished up the league campaign in the semi-final defeat to Limerick? What's been happening since? Because that 4 weeks was a really, really important 4 weeks. I just think it was a perfect 4 weeks now for us to get going and get back down to doing a bit of work.
And they did do plenty of work in that time, They looked at a lot of combinations, and I suppose that what we're seeing here outside of the goalkeeping line, we have 4 debutants on 4 of the 5 lines, championship debutants, and that's a big turnover in a year, But as you mentioned, Michael, early on about the experience, there's great experience mixed through that team, and I think it's a very solid looking team. I don't honestly think they'll play that way when it comes to lining up on Sunday. I think particularly in the back line, I feel that they'll probably be going man for man, that they'll know who each player will know who they're going with, and no matter where that player goes, the back will follow him, I would imagine, But certainly in our forward line, there's potential for scores there, and also the battlers are there as well, So it's probably, maybe the few that possibly lost out are being looked at to, if you like, bring the ship home. Yeah. The likes of Conor Stakelum to come in with loads of energy around the middle of the field, half forward line. The likes of Bonner Maher as well, who possibly wouldn't have lasted a full game at full championship pace now. But what a sub to have, the kind of guy who can come in and unlock a defence with his movement and all that, So it's an interesting team, and best of luck to them.
Yeah, and as you said, Noel, it's an interesting team. It's Liam Cahill's first championship team. And a number of weeks ago, I sat down with Liam Cahill to get his thoughts on how things have been going so far for him as the manager, how the league went, and his thoughts and his hopes for the championship 2023. So joining me now on Tipp GAA TV is Tipperary Senior Hurling Manager Liam Cahill. Liam, you're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan.
I suppose you're in the position now as Tipperary Senior Hurling Manager for what I suppose the guts of 6 months at this point in time. How do you think things are going so far?
Yeah, I think things are going reasonably well, Jonathan. We're 6 months almost, as you said, into our reign. Quite a lot of work had gone on behind the scenes, I suppose, when a guy was initially appointed, and I think we've assembled a really good group of players, number one, and a really good group of people as well then to support those players. So a lot of the early stages, Jonathan, of the work involved was making sure that we had the right people appointed to work with this panel when it was picked, and thankfully to date everybody is fully committed and fully engaged in what we're doing, so thankfully the results are beginning to come out onto the field.
Yeah, and you said a lot there in relation to the assembling the right people and a good backroom team, and it's amazing the amount of people that you need, and managers and teams now need in their backroom, and I suppose there's so many different elements to making a senior inter-county team click, isn't there really?
Yeah, I think, look, the inter-county game has just, escalated year on year in relation to, I suppose, the standards and the physical preparation of players, not just physical, Jonathan, and maybe, mentally, from a nutritional point of view, the whole thing has gone up dramatically over the last number of years, and you know, what do you do? People will say it's spiraling out of control and it's still an amateur sport, and the resources that are required to run an inter-county setup is outlandish and unsustainable. But, you know, what do you do if you don't move with it and move with the opposition? You get left behind. So no, you're 100% right in saying that it takes a lot of moving parts, a lot of expertise and a lot of good people in a setup to make sure these players can perform at the levels they're capable of.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, when you take so far, like the league has gone very well, you know, some very, very good performances, some good wins, you know, both at home and away from home. And I suppose that those kind of games test players, but they also give the newer players the opportunity to stake a claim on their position. And for you and for Mikey and the lads in the management team, that can only be a real positive as you head in towards the opening of the Munster Championship.
Yeah, you look at, you've said it there, Jonathan, as well. You know, the league is the National Hurling League, but it's still a national title. I've you know, said that openly already. But you know, Tipperary need this league. You know, I think above all teams, Tipperary need it because of the position we're in relation to our squad, and you know, where things have to go to over the couple of years that myself and Mikey and the management team will be involved. So, you know, people will say the league is this and that, but the league is very, very important to this particular group of players at this time. And, you know, to date we've had the fortunate, I suppose, experience of being able to use 30 plus players and give players, you know, as near as possible to championship experience in big league games, in, you know, in Nolan Park and, you know, in Thurles again, Waterford, travelling up to Croke Park to play Dublin. They're all very, very important steps in our goal here to make you know, Tipperary competitive, really, really competitive again, and assemble as strong a panel as possible into the future for Tipperary, so it can be sustained and please God bring success back at ultimately All-Ireland level. So yeah, there's a lot to it, Jonathan, but you know, hopefully we can continue to do what we're doing and keep making progression.
And obviously, playing games at fairly close proximity to each other does have its downfalls, and I suppose unfortunately there have been one or two players who have picked up injuries, and you know, that's obviously par for the course, really, you know, and there's nothing that really can be done about that. Some of the injuries that were picked up, and indeed the majority of the injuries that were picked up, were just they were just injuries that came about during the course of the game and through nobody else's fault.
Yeah, look at it. I suppose the one, you know, it goes right back, Jonathan, to the split season, and absolutely the split season is a must. But it really does put massive pressure on the inter-county player, our elite player, really. And you know, I suppose our elite player drives the whole area around young kids aspiring to play at the top level. But the way the inter-county scene at the moment is so condensed, it does allow for a lot of areas where injury can really pop its head up, and I think a lot of teams are finding that, because you're asking players to perform at a really high level almost week after week now, and also trying to get in a block of training that'll be ultimately sustained for championship when you really need to call on it. And this is where you need your expertise, your real good strength and conditioning people like Tommy Ryan and Angela Welsh that are with me, that work rigorously behind the scenes with these players, making sure they're tailoring the right type of work for the player and the player's profile, you know, taking into account the player's age, you know, injury history, stuff like that. So there's an awful lot of planning goes into that, Jonathan, and I suppose you're right too in relation to the few injuries we've picked up. Thankfully it's been through you know, on-field action more so than stuff that we haven't got right on the training field, you know, so that gives us a little bit of solace when it comes to injuries from my perspective, that you know, it was something that wasn't initially caused by over workload or something like that. But that's little consolation obviously to the players involved, but we'll continue to try and monitor that as the league unfolds and into the championship, which is, you know, rapid as well, week after week. So yeah, it is fairly serious. It's all but professional in name, really, Jonathan.
Yeah, and if we turn our focus maybe towards the championship, first round game is imminent, as they say now. So what are your hopes, what are your aspirations for the Munster Championship for 2023?
Yeah, look at our ultimate goal is to make sure that we're one of the 3 that come out of Munster. Obviously, our main goal would be to try and win the Munster Championship. I think every team in Munster will be aspiring to win that and will feel that it's within their capabilities. But for us, the 27th of May or April in Ennis in Cusack Park, that's a massive game for this group of players. It's a really tough assignment up there in Ennis, where Clare, pride themselves on usually turning over teams and getting wins, and it's a tough ask, first off. But all rounds of the Munster Championship are going to be massively intense, but we're going to take it game by game. We're going to make sure that we're ready for that game in Ennis, and if we're fortunate enough to get out of Ennis with a win, it'll put us in a great position going to Páirc Uí Chaoimh for another massive assignment 2 weeks later. And if we can get, I suppose, if we can get something out of both of them games, Jonathan, it'll put us in a great position for our 2 home games then. That'll give us a great opportunity to qualify out of Munster and into the All-Ireland series. So, there's a lot at stake, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of, I suppose, breaks and luck along the way as well.
Okay, Liam, and obviously we all look forward with great anticipation to what the Munster Championship brings, and we hope that both yourself, your management team and the players will do as you said and qualify out of Munster, hopefully maybe even go one step forward and be successful in a Munster final, and ultimately hopefully a couple of days out in Croke Park would be really what we'd all be hoping for, and we wish you all the very best of luck in that. And so the thoughts there of Liam Cahill ahead of Sunday's opening game in the Munster Championship. And guys, if we just turn back and take a closer look maybe at the rest of the team that Liam has picked for Sunday's game. Noel, centre field pairing of Noel McGrath and Alan Tynan, youth and experience, I suppose you'll say there.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan Tynan, was there a few years ago and was trying to make that breakthrough, but he's really nailed down a place this year and has had a really good league. A very physical guy, gets around the field a lot, great energy. He has added also the scoring to his game as well, and I suppose maybe if people looking at Ross Gray over the last number of years, you'd regard him more as a forward than a midfield, but certainly in the league this year he really nailed that position down there, and he's teaming up with probably the most visionary player in the game at the moment, and that would hold up against any player, I would say. Noel McGrath, what more can you say about Noel McGrath? But I think if we can afford to have Noel McGrath midfield, we're in a good place, because he can do so much when he gets on the ball. He can cause so much problems, his intelligence and his vision around the field. So the fact that we have him there is brilliant, And as we all know too, if Noel needs to drift in for a little rest inside the full forward line, he'll do fine in there too, So I think it's a good midfield pairing, And as I mentioned earlier on there, that you possibly have the likes of the Conor Stacklins to come in and bring that energy if we need it in the last 20 minutes or whatever.
And Michael, if we then look at the forwards, six very skillful and potent forwards there. They'd put a big case in to make their place on any inter-county team. Some new guys, lads making their championship debuts, things like that. Your thoughts on that?
I suppose the revelation of the forward line for me from early doors, right from the first game that I saw them play played in Nina against Clare in the Co-op League, was Gearóid O'Connor at 11. Now I know he's picked at 14, but he's been very impressive right throughout this league, and I happened to see a few of the UL Fitzgibbon games too, and he was a big influence with those guys as well. And this is for the second year in a row, and those guys won their Fitzgibbon back to back. So I think that development outside of Tip for Gearóid O'Connor would have been really, really important, and it's valuable to any player now, to be honest, because that's a really good competition. But yeah, you touched on it there. We've John McGrath back, and I suppose we haven't seen enough of John because he's been really rushing with that to get back from that injury he picked up a year ago at this point in time. But we're delighted to see him back, and he's obviously made huge strides because Liam Cahill and the team wouldn't have parachuted him straight in there, and he'll wear the number 11 jersey. But I think, you know, what John has got is that flexibility to run between those two lines. And personally, I just love him in the full forward line. I think he brings that incredible intelligence and simplicity. That's fierce challenging, you know. But look,
And a goal getter.
Oh, he's hungry for goals, you know, and that he's got that kind of that assassin's mindset.
Yeah.
But so too does Jake Morris. You know, I mean, like what Jake achieved there wasn't against Waterford here in Thurles was fabulous. Now, you know, a 3-goal haul. I looked, you know, that's Ryder Rovers kind of stuff. But each of his goals, he took them exceptionally well. And you know, and then to talk about the other sharpshooter, like what do you say about Jason? Like Jason has just been fabulous for us this year.
Anywhere.
Yeah, you know, almost to the point that you say, could we put him, you know, could we wrap him up in a bit of cotton wool and don't overtrain him and don't let the backs at him and, you know, the various things. Just mind the man, because when he's on his form, he's just fabulous now. You know, the stuff that and how quickly Jason can execute is probably I would say it's quite unique now in the game. And he's a huge asset for Tipperary. And then, you know, what we've done with Seamus Kennedy, and great credit and courage to Liam Cahill and the team, you know, to look at Seamus, and probably, you know, Liam might have had a better insight into this, given that he's down in the south and would have seen probably more of his club hurling. But like Seamus has been, I suppose, a high energy player in that half forward line midfield. I'd say wherever there's an issue for St Mary's, that's where Seamus ends up. But he's transitioned exceptionally well there. A great carrier of the ball, very mature, doesn't give the ball away cheaply. And again, you know, will be equally comfortable if he's asked to drop a further line out to midfield. Perfectly comfortable to do that. So I just think, you know, we've added a couple of different dimensions to our forward play that, you know, really make us a bit more difficult to manage and difficult to pin down. And then you have the quintessential hard worker in Dan McCormack there. And again, Dan has floated everywhere from wing back to midfield to the half forward line and is effective everywhere. But we need a big day out of Dan. This is a day now that our experienced players need to just hold their own and win battles. That's the minimum that we expect for them. And let the younger guys express themselves a little bit more. But there's going to be a quota of hard work that's going to be required down here in Ennis. And I'd be looking to Dan McCormack to tick that box, and Bonner when he'll get on the pitch, and Connor Staken when he'll get on the pitch. You know, and you know, all of them. It's a prerequisite. When you get on the pitch, you work hard.
That middle third, like, is a very strong middle third.
It is.
You know, physically strong. You know, I mean, right? We maybe regard John as being a physical kind of player, John McGrath, but the rest of the lads there are all strong physical players who will work really hard, like, and that's what you need in the modern game with the way teams are setting up and that, you know.
And I suppose, Noel, if we take a look at maybe, you know, this year's league, and both teams would have played 4 games in the rounds of the league, and I just looking at it, Tip scored 12 goals and 107 points. Clare scored 12 goals and 92 points. So that will just show you how close, you know, the teams are. I know it's easy, it's the league, and I know they haven't played each other, but they are close. They're scoring goals, lots of goals, and goals are going to be very important on Sunday for both sides. And whoever comes out on top, it's going to be those goals that are probably going to make the difference, really, isn't it?
Goals are important, Jonathan, and as you say, Tip got 12 of them in the league, and probably could have had a few more too, you know, maybe sometimes opting to go that extra pass or whatever and it breaks down. But look, there's great goal threat in that forward line, our full forward line in particular. Jake Morris, Jason Ford, Gerard O'Connor, they're all able to score goals. John McGrath, you know, maybe John would be closer to goal when they come to line up on Sunday, we don't really know, but John has a great brain in around the square. He'd make a goal out of anything, as a lot of clubs in Tip would know to their expense, you know. So goals are very, very important. And of course, you score a goal in a place like Clare where the crowd are going to be on to Clare. It's a huge, huge lift to a Tip team to get a goal down there, you know. You have to stop it at the other end though, because when they score a goal, if they score a goal, it'll be a massive lift.
And Michael, the loss of David Fitzgerald for Clare, that's a huge loss, really, isn't it?
It is.
Or is it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. He's been playing quite well for them now. He's developed into quite a good, important player for them, and he's rangy. He's a big man and covers a lot of ground, and he's hurling. Like he's taken some inspirational scores for them at various stages in this league, and I thought he was excellent for them all through last year as well. Now, so I think he's matured into a very good player, and he's, as I say, big midfielder, usable in the half forward line and midfield as well. He brings a physicality or a size that it's hard to deal with, but that's not all he brings. He's very pacey for a big player, and of course they appealed it, as we all would feel you defend your own, and that appeal didn't work. I thought when I saw the incident back, I just thought he didn't have a chance, and you'd feel sorry for any young fella. You want to be there to play your championship matches, particularly a home game. They're hugely important. They're important to everybody, but they're going to be very important to Clare. Clare are passionate about their game, and Brian Lohan trades on that too. He himself was a passionate player, and he'll have these guys riled up properly for Tip's visit to Cusack Park on Sunday. So yeah, you never like to see any team be without their players, but we have to look after our own. We want that starting team and the 5 guys that'll go in to help them to fall out over the line whatever way they can, but gather up 2 points if they can, because it'll really set them up for the rest of the round robin games.
Okay, and Noel, we spoke earlier, like Michael was talking about, we'll say Ronan at number 3 and Brian McGrath at number 5 and all that, but actually it's not going to be like that on Sunday, because Tipperary will line out kind of with players. Ronan will wear number 12, Brian McGrath will wear number 15, Noel will be wearing 18, things like that, and it's kind of going to be a little bit different, really, isn't it, because of the panel system that was put in place before the game.
Yeah, it was a strange one, I suppose, for the panel to be announced on Friday, and then for the team to follow later on that evening. It was a strange way of doing it. Look, it happens in other sports, and there's no great big deal about it, I suppose in GAA we're used to 1 to 15, but even in the team that has been named on Friday night, last night for the game, I don't expect that they'll line out in those positions anyway. I have a feeling that when it comes to it, Tip will be going man for man in the back line, and whether whoever will be detailed to pick up Peter Duggan or somebody else be detailed to pick up Shane O'Donnell or whoever, Aidan McCarthy, Mark Rogers, they'll pick them up no matter where they go. I think that's the way Tip will be. So look, we have gotten used to maybe the number 3 jersey appearing in number 7, or the number 7 jersey back in number 3. That's just the way the modern game is, and I think that's the way it'll be again. So I don't see a major issue with the squad jersey number, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, lads, well, look, it's been fantastic having you here joining us on Tipp GAA TV. But before you go, Michael, Noel, call it.
Oh yeah, no, we have to win this. There's no doubt at all about that, Jonathan. And I do fancy, though, I fancy us. I think we've, it's a little bit better than 50-50 for me. I'm going down there quite hopeful that we get out of there, and I think it'll be character building for us once we do, but it might be as tight as 2 to 3 points.
Noel.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been saying all week, I suppose, discount the league. The league doesn't count for anything. I actually think it does count for something as far as Tipper are concerned. We've become very comfortable with the game we're playing. I think we're in a very good place, and having watched a lot of the training over the last couple of weeks, I think Tipper are in great shape. So I would give us a very, very good chance. I think we'll come out of it.
Well, there you have it. We look forward to what's going to be a fantastic game in Cusack Park, Ennis. We'll all be there. We'll be keeping you up to date on our live Twitter feeds, and we'll be back after the game in the coming days to review both the Senior Hurling Championship and the Senior Football Championship with Tipperary and Kerry, and look forward to Tipperary's next games in the Senior Hurling Championship. So until then, thank you for watching, and it's goodbye for now from Tipp GAA TV.